Good morning, everybody. My name is Erika Alghisi, and I am the project manager of eForest Project. In everyday life, I work in a forestry regional body, HERSA, based in Milan. I'm a forestry technician, and today I'll introduce you to the fundamental topic about maintenance that is at the basis of a successful forestry plantation. As a forestry technician, my main tasks are planning plantation, both in urban and natural environment, following implementation, surveying the maintenance and plantation.
Hi everyone, I'm Lara Jamborcaro. I'm Erica's collaborator and I'm a landscape architect. In my job, I work with forestry technicians, agronomists, and other professionals. What I can say is that maintenance is really a central issue for a successful forestation. What does maintenance consist of? Urban forests require regular systematic maintenance such as mulching, watering, fertilizing, pruning by trained personnel. The main actions for a newly planted forest are watering, depending on climate and planting season, and mowing. Other procedures may be required for grown-up vegetation. For example, trees must be pruned periodically to maintain their health.
When planting a tree, it is fundamental to consider the following checklist. Are there adequate resources to maintain the tree, such as labor and equipment to provide for watering, mulching, pruning, fertilization, protection, and other maintenance needs? Are there strategies to protect the tree from injuries? Is there someone or an organization responsible for maintenance? What are the qualifications of the personnel maintaining the trees? Do they have the necessary training and skills?
The table in the slide shows an example of how many factors should be considered when we are planning a maintenance in an urban forestation. So then, let's see in detail the principal maintenance actions to permit plantation site to become an urban forest as shown in these pictures, before gray picture and after color picture. The minimum period of a maintenance for a successful plantation is 7 years, according to the recent trend in matters of urban forestry. During such period, the main actions to be included in a maintenance program are staking, protection, weed control, emergency watering, fertilizing, pruning, controlling diseases and damaged trees.
A correct maintenance is at the basis of a successful urban forest, but also a well done planning process determines its effectiveness and sustainability. Let's see more in detail. Staking means to support large planting stock after planting, while the root systems regenerate to form a new anchorage. Staking is needed when you work with bare root trees or the trees that can stand up on their own, as when the ball of soil surrounding the roots is very small and the height of the tree or the width of all its branches is very big. We also use staking when the soil is unstable, waterlogged, or subject to seasonal flooding or in very windy planting sites. There are different ways of staking: using a single stake, using a double or triple stakes, using guide wires. It depends on the trunk diameter of the tree you are planting. Make sure that the stake is not too wide and that it doesn't shake the trunk to allow the tree to grow properly. Possible stakes: metal bar or pipe, wooden stake.
In this picture, you can see one of the most common and important activities during maintenance to protect plants and to mow. We needed to shelter plants in the early years, especially small forestry plants that can be damaged by animals. Also during mowing, plants could be damaged.
Protection can be of different models, as you see in this slide. Meshes or boxes are widely used as they are cheap and easy to put.
We have to maintain protection in an effective condition, so routine inspections for remedial maintenance or recovery of materials are necessary if they are falling down or damaged. And, most of all, Plastic mesh guards must be removed when the plants are sufficiently grown up and strong, otherwise they can even damage the trunks. Something essential is also mowing herbaceous vegetation in order to let small new plants grow.
Such activity is crucial to reduce weed seed production and, in doing so, to reduce wet competition with newly planted trees and to prevent allergic plants growing. As a matter of fact, frequent mowings prevent from allergic plants growing, such as ambrosia and trimisifolia, or from infesting herb or climbing plants, such as convolvulus or rubus. These plants could choke the new species for forestation, especially if the plantation is made by planting stock. The picture shows two different ways of mowing, by hand with a cutter and by a mechanized system. Often the two systems go together to get the best results.
In general, the more you mechanize these maintenance sections, the more you optimize time and you reduce costs. How to favor the mechanization of this process? A sufficiently wide planting system, such as 3 per 2 meters with a density of about 1600 plants per hectare, allows a higher use of machinery, such as tractors and mulchers. A plantation system like this in the picture, for example, can substantially affect the maintenance program. So, with the same investment, it's possible to perform a greater number of mowings. A wider plantation system involves a weaker competition among new plants in the first growing years, then a greater growth and less thinning out costs for shelter removal in the medium run.
It's fundamental not to damage the base of the trunk working with a manual cutter, even if, in doing so, it can happen that we leave behind some tuft of grass around the shelter. Anyway, no problem if just few weeds are left. This operation is very important in urban forests. Frequent and regular mowings allow citizens usage of planted areas after a few years from plantation. The number of mowing is going to reduce while plants are growing, as they also make more shadows on the ground.
When to mow? Better in late spring, also not to disturb wild fauna reproduction. How many times do we need to mow? From a minimum of 3 interventions during spring summer to a larger number if necessary and economically sustainable. Shelter positioning is not enough, unfortunately, to protect soft wood at the base of the trunk of seedlings from blades and rotating threads.
Now, let's explore actions to be undertaken when talking about irrigations.
Rescue emergency relief irrigations guarantee the survival of new planting sites. During the plant's establishment, it's necessary to help trees with water support until roots will be equipped to provide the right amount of water to the plant.
The most important thing to optimize irrigation is the ring around the plants. Either we work with reedy effect plants or with small forestry ones. Either you can take water from a hydraulic network or you need to use a tank truck. You have to make a sort of funnel in the ground, closing the hole so that it conveys water to the bases of the plant without wasting it around.
The overall number of irrigations as well as mowings would not be restricted for each year, but it could change so that it can be regulated by the climate and by the works management. Generally, the more the plants grow, the less irrigations are necessary. As a matter of fact, during the plant's establishment, it's necessary to help trees with water support until roots will be equipped to provide the right amount of water to the plant. Less irrigation will be necessary in rainy years, but more mowings will be needed. Instead, in dry years, it will be necessary to irrigate earlier and to mow less.
The removal of wild climbing plants such as convolvulus or rubus is necessary from forestry plants and from shelters. Also, restoring plants' verticality is necessary if they have bent for any reason.
Common problems require non-routine maintenance, such as excess sediment accumulation, thrush and debris, overgrown vegetation, dead or diseased vegetation, signs of erosion, structural damage, or standing water present more than 70 hours after a rainstorm.
The final action of maintenance listed at the beginning of this lesson is controlling diseases and damaged trees. As living beings, plants also suffer from disease. Particularly invasive diseases are especially regulated by the Plant Health Service. In the last years in Italy, we had a lot of pine processionary moth, for example. In this case, it's also important to inform people to make them aware of this risk. In an urban forest, it's necessary to remove fallen trees or dead and falling branches to make urban forest sites safe for the population that is going to work and enjoy green spaces, while in natural forests, fallen trees are part of the nature cycle and can be left there.
We have seen the main actions needed to maintain an urban forest. In particular situations, further measures have to be considered, in particular when grown plants have to be planted to guarantee immediate fruition. When we talk about grown plants, we refer to the ones with root balls in containers. The picture shows some ready effect plants that have just been planted or others that are going to be planted. In such a situation, it's necessary to
Prepare ground, making a ring around the bases of a tree suitable for irrigation, closing it at the end of summertime, reopening of it at the next vegetating season. Maintain, and while sufficiently grown, remove the tutoring system with a rye bar protection and regular check of ties.
schedule additional irrigations for big trees, especially in the first years, in comparison to forest replantations. You have to also consider the dimension of the root ball. How to manage all the actions in the maintenance process, for how long we should plan it. You've already heard about the importance of a good management or development plan in previous lectures. Maintenance is an important part of the to-do list in a development plan that is a fundamental instrument to govern such a complex process, such as a urban forestation one. If a community wants a good quality urban forest, it must first have a good quality urban forest management plan that acts like a blueprint for directing the limited resources that we usually have, and to find strategic ways to do so. This plan defines specifically the budget, who is financing, stakeholders, who is acting in the different steps. Referring to maintenance, the management plan defines how often and how long we should intervene in relation to the necessary activities. So, a management plan is based on a full inventory of public trees and provides a specific budgeting guidance for public trees for a specific period, in general about 1 to 7 years.
FAO implemented a public document titled Guidelines on Urban and Peri-Urban Forestry that can be used as reference. In this document, you will find more than the maintenance topic. You can read it like a good overview of our lecture. Anyway, let nature play its role, and with good maintenance, we can have good results, such as the ones in this picture. Thank you for your precious attention to this thick lecture.